As promised, here is the video on how to get R-squared values and equations on your chart. So I made two sets of data just to sort of show you the difference. So this data, if you look, is obviously linear. If you look at, let's say these are your X values, and these are your Y values, you see that it goes up by the same amount, goes up by 30 every time. That makes the data linear. It's completely linear. So I'm going to graph this. I think you should have learned how to do this on the summer assignment. So I'm going to go to Insert, and we never pick line. The insert we like to click. We never pick line graph. We want to pick XY scatter plot here. And I want to pick one that's going to have you can pick either one of these. I'm going to pick this one. Or it doesn't really matter. Pick whichever one you want. We'll pick the one without the line. Okay, now, obviously you have to label the axes and all that things. I'm not going to do that. So then you click the plus sign. And you click trend line. Okay? But we want more information about the trend line. So we want a linear trend line. And then you click more options. Okay? Now, if we look, it gives us options about things that we can do. Alright, so we want to display the equation on the chart. Okay? And then we want to give the R-squared value. You see here, if you look closely, and I'll zoom in, make this bigger. View, zoom. We'll zoom to 200. If you look closer here, the R-squared value here is exactly 1. That means that this data is completely linear. Okay? I'm going to do that again, okay, with another set of data. Let me zoom back out. Alright, so if I scroll over, I have some more data over here. So I'm going to do the same thing for this data here, which is obviously not linear. You'll see why in a second. So I'm going to do the same thing here. You go to Insert, and I want my scatter plot here. I'll do the one without the line. Okay, and then I'm going to click the plus sign, and I want a trend line, right? And I want to pick more about the trend line, so get more information about the trend line here. Click linear, and more options. And then we scroll down to the trend line. We want trend line options here. And then, so if you ever get that screen, you want the one with the bars. Then you click linear, and down we want to display the equation on the chart, and we want to display our R-squared value. And we'll notice here that our R-squared value is much less than 1. This data is not very linear. Like, it's hard to draw a line that connects all the points. So it has a lower R-squared value, or R-squared value that's much less than 1. If you remember from Algebra 1, this number here, the 0.8831, is the slope of the line. And that's actually the rate. Now, you have to show the calculations for rate, but if the data is perfectly linear, as it is in, which I don't think our data will be perfectly linear, but then the slope of the line is the rate. So here the rate would be 3. I mean, I just picked random numbers. So, but no, you should notice the difference between these two graphs. The reason why I chose these numbers, I'm not going to say it, because sort of give it away. But again, if you look at the difference between these graphs and the R-squared value, this data is not linear. It's hard to draw a line that fits all the points, so it has a low R-squared value, or the R-squared value is much less than 1. Well, this data here, if I pull it over, I'll just delete this one, I don't need it anymore. This is perfectly linear data, so it has an R-squared value of exactly 1. If I change one of the points, so if I change, let's say I make this point, I don't know, I make it an outlier, I'll make it 400, so it's not exactly linear, you'll see that the R-squared value goes down a little bit. It's not exactly 1 now, because this data is not completely linear. So that's sort of how you do the R-squared value on Excel and what it means. If you have questions, obviously you can email me. Have a good weekend.